Hey everyone, CeeCee here, and thanks for joining me for another What Am I Making on Wednesday. Today's project is a single page layout in my almost finished journal, and as you can see I already have something in the background. I think it was dilution sprays, and I ended up putting some gesso over that, so of course it kind of bled. The inspiration for today's page is these two diagrams that I picked up in an old grammar book. It's a French grammar book, and I thought they would make fun flowers. Now, the idea I had in mind was to doodle all over the page, and you will see at the end that I did not dictate the final result. I don't know what came over me. I laughed throughout the whole process, so it kind of was a fun project to make in the end, and the outcome is, I'm quite happy with the outcome. It was just funny how it turned out. So I'm using Collage Page to glue down all these pieces of text paper because there's so much going on in the background. I didn't want anything to bleed through. This is Martha Stewart's paint, and I found it on clearance at Michael's, and I really like the texture. It's kind of like heavy body, but not. It's a little bit on the glossy side. It says it's supposed to be satin finish. It kind of is and not. But anyways, I decided to use it because I needed some sunshine. It's winter. So what I'm doing is painting around these diagrams, and I've kind of covered some of it up. So I'm going to take a baby wipe and I'm going to remove the paint on some of the text and of course on the now petals. Alright, so I'm going to start doodling now, and this is a Sharpie white paint pen. I believe this is the fine tip, and I will list all the supplies in my blog post, and the blog post will be linked in the description box. So I'm also adding a center to these flowers, and I'm also going over some of the lines inside the petals. So this is kind of like doodling the easy way. And because I only had 2 flowers and I like odd numbers, I'm going for a third flower. This time I'm going to sketch it using the 2 other flowers. So I'm essentially keeping the same style. And now that I look at it, it looks like a dragonfly or a butterfly. Okay, so here starts my circle frenzy. I decided that it needed more circles, so of course I repeated the flower centers here and there, and I'm also doodling stems. So I need to add some color to the third flower, and I didn't have the same color as the other 2, and I didn't even bother mixing it with white. It's in the same family of color anyway, so I thought it would be fun to just have one darker flower. And more circles, or dots I should say. Dots really took over on this page. I really don't know how that happened, but you'll see that I'm going to add some more. I'm not done with the dots. So now I'm redefining the doodling inside that flower and going around those dots I just made. And at this point I knew I wanted to add something else to the page, and so I pulled out my anthracnone blue and I made more dots. This color is a lot more intense than I thought, so in some areas, because I was dotting it quite thick, it looks like black. I think my pinky was possessed. It just went on its own. I did not have any control. Alright, so I needed to jazz that up a little bit, so I'm pulling out this electric pink, which is a fun pink, and this is the pop that the page needed. But of course I'm adding more dots. I told you, my pinky is possessed. Now some of these dots I'm going to make bigger because I didn't want to have the same size. I'm also going around some of the light blue dots with the pink. And I'm using a baby wipe to remove some of the excess paint that's covering the blue. Now I'm going to use a paintbrush to color the centers as well. My fingers were too fat to get into that small space. All right, so the blue dots are almost black and they're overpowering, so I'm taking a Montana extra fine point pen to doodle around the flowers, and I'm going to do very sketchy lines, which is my favorite kind of doodling. I love that. I can't draw a straight line for beans, so this makes me look like a professional doodler, and that is my story. All right, as you can see, I have a dilemma. I'm not sure where this is going, and so I reflected on it for a little bit, and then I don't know if you can see those lines that create a circle underneath the flowers, so I decided to use those to journal. Now, don't try to read this because I'm skipping lines here and there. Again, I was not in a frame of mind to be very accurate. So it's basically telling the story of how this page came about. It's about letting the page or the work dictate to you, and not you dictating where it's supposed to go. And that kind of adds a nice visual interest. Of course, I'm not going to do that on the third flower because I wouldn't have been able to do it the same way, and that would have bothered me. And that flower is darker anyway, so I decided to treat it as a separate flower. And now I'm softening up that dark blue with a bit of white doodling around them, and I think that worked. And I'm going to go back in also with this time a permaball pen to circle around the other dots. Oh boy, lots of circles, like I said, so I'm trying to break that up a little bit. And I have this plastic canvas that my friend Sophie gave me last week. Thank you, Sophie. And I'm kind of stamping with some white paint here and there, but it wasn't enough. And I think it was at this point that I decided that the flowers would not be the main focus. They would sort of become a background, just like the dots and everything else. So what I'm going to do is cover most of the page up with a big title or a big quote. And these are alpha stickers from American Crafts. They are foam stickers. And it says, why? Because I did. So here's a tip for you. If you're not entirely happy with what's going on your page, just treat it as a background. You can collage over it, you can paint partially over it, or you can add a title like I'm doing right now. So that was a quick page, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Thank you so much for watching, and I guess I will see you later. Bye!